You arrived with your family. The kids started school, your husband walked into his new exciting role, you smiled at the welcome drinks, you found the good coffee place, maybe even the weekend market. But then somewhere between month 3 and month 6, you noticed it. Nobody here knows who you were. And you're not entirely sure who you are now either. It's not homesickness, but it is something. And today we're going to name it properly. I'm Emily Rogers, and this channel is for capable women who are tired of carrying everything and quietly wondering, when is it their turn? We have honest conversations here, no fluff, no motivational language that evaporates by morning, just what is actually true about navigating this season. Relocation is one of the most underestimated identity disruptors a woman can experience. We talk about culture shock, we talk about logistics, we talk about kids settling in. We rarely talk about what happens to the woman who organised all of it and then looked up to find she had no idea who she was in this new place. When you move, you leave behind a lot. You leave behind more than your home. You leave behind your career context, the colleagues who knew what you were capable of, the community that held your history, the friendships that didn't require explanation, the version of yourself that existed in the space that all of those things created. Without that scaffolding, for many women, the self quietly collapses inward. Not dramatically, just quietly. Because relocation doesn't just change your address. It strips away everything that held your sense of self in place. I've spent more than 12 years moving across Asia with my family. Hong Kong, Mumbai, Delhi, Chongqing, Taipei. What I can tell you, having lived this and worked with hundreds of women who've lived the versions of it, is that we are extraordinary adapters. But that adaptability can mask a very real sense of loss. There is a specific experience that belongs to the woman who follows. Her partner gets the job offer, and it's a great opportunity. She supports that. She wants to support it. She packs up, she organises the move, she gets the children settled, she finds the good coffee place, the weekend market. She's proud that she's done it all. But at the welcome drinks, she's introduced as somebody's wife. Her career, her qualifications, her expertise, the history, it is all absent from that introduction. She's defined by proximity. I remember landing in Mumbai. I was literally about to have Miss J. Within 6 weeks, I had 6 weeks to find a home and book the hospital. I was not there as a professional. I was there as a wife, about to become a mother, a person whose role was to make the new posting work for the family. I was good at it. But good at it does not mean it costs nothing. I remember sitting in a meeting early in our time there, ask a question, and the answer was given to my husband. And I was referred to as she. Not out of malice, but just out of a very clear assumption about who mattered in the room. If you've felt this, I want you to know it's not your imagination. It's real. And it's one of the most invisible forms of identity loss that exists. For women who have moved once, this can feel like a temporary displacement. You rebuild your community, you find your feet, you start to feel like yourself again. For women who have moved multiple times, that stripping away becomes cumulative. You rebuild, you move. You rebuild again, you move again. And at some point, the effort of building something, eventually to be taken away, becomes harder and harder to justify. 12 years after leaving New Zealand, we returned to Auckland. I was in a very strange kind of no man's land. Some people thought I'd come home because some people knew I'd lived there before. Some assumed I'd always been there. I had no idea how to explain the 12 years in Asia and what it meant to me. I was not the person who left. New Zealand itself had changed in that time too. So I wasn't quite an expat, I wasn't quite a local, I wasn't quite sure who I was supposed to be in that space. You move enough, you stop trying to explain who you were before and you lose a thread of who you're becoming. This is the moment that many women arrive in coaching. Not because something dramatic has happened, but because something quiet has happened over a long period of time and they can no longer ignore it. So here's what I've observed. The stripping away is painful. And it's also the most important thing that has ever happened to you. Because when that scaffolding is gone, that's when the real questions surface. Not what is my next role, not how do I build what I had, but who do I actually want to be now? What do I want this next chapter to look like? What is mine? When we moved to Taipei, back in 2016, 2017, I made a deliberate decision that I'd never made before. I did not volunteer immediately. I did not say yes to filling gaps. After years of building communities in every city we landed in, I wanted to take time to figure out what I wanted for myself. I had no idea what that was. It was just the beginning. The decision to say no. And then maybe a year in, 9 months in, at the school gate, my dear friend said to me, I would pay you just to talk to me and share your ideas. We went out for lunch, a glass of wine, maybe two. Somewhere in between the laughing and scribbling down thoughts on paper, the shape of my business began to form. She didn't give me the idea. She reflected back what I had already in a form. Finally, I could see it. So what does it take to build a sense of self that doesn't depend on the city you're in, the role you hold, or the community that knows your history? There are 3 things that I have seen make a real difference. Firstly, stop measuring yourself against the life you left. 12 years in Asia changes you. Going back cannot undo that. The woman who returned to New Zealand was not the woman who left. Trying to pick up where she left off was the wrong strategy. Starting from who she was now was the right one. Second, you have to name what you're actually good at. Not job title. The globally mobile woman has a body of knowledge, a set of skills that most people never develop. Cross-cultural communication, building from scratch, leading without authority, adapting under pressure. None of that appears on a CV, but all of it is real and transferable. Third, you need a room with other women who are in it too. I started a walking group in Chongqing with 5 people. By the time we left, there were over 100. Not because I organised something impressive, but because there was a need. And when someone names it, women gather around it. So I want you to know you did not leave yourself behind. You buried yourself under the weight of everything you were carrying for everyone else. She's still there, and she's asking to be found. The woman who followed. The woman who packed up everything. The woman who smiled at the welcome drinks and found the good coffee place. Who got the children settled and held it all together. That woman didn't lose herself because she was weak. She buried herself because she was strong and someone had to hold the whole thing up. So the question to ask yourself, which version did you leave behind in the last place you lived? What did she know that you have forgotten? What would she tell you now? You don't have to have the answer, you just need to be willing to ask. Every week I write honestly about this for women who are navigating more than most people realize. I invite you to pour yourself a cup of tea and join me. Go to theleaptolead.com/newsletter.